Coming to you from UBN Studios in Burbank, California. You're listening to the Unsugarcoated Podcast with your hosts, Ali Alanias and Alexandra Checa.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Unsugarcoated Podcast. I'm Alia.
And I'm Alex.
And we're here to
have some fun. Alia, I'm getting old.
Oh my God. You're going to be 25 next month.
I am.
Okay. As a 44-year-old woman. Okay.
But you have to listen to my thinking. Growing up, I feel like society has kind of made women feel like they have somewhat of an expiration date, you know?
Sure. Oh, for sure.
You know that like the companies are trying to sell youth, like the creams and all of those things.
To older people too.
They make over $200 billion a year.
Oh, the beauty and youth-defying industry is a huge market. No, I've actually made money in that market. In understanding that because I am a woman, and it's interesting because my daughter this morning called me old. I just want you to know, my 12-year-old called me old, and I said, "We are not old.
It's a good way to start your day.
We are older, but I'm not quite there yet. I'll take you to a convalescent home and show you someone who's been around the block a few times."
Yeah.
But you know what's ironic is that when I was like 20-something though, I remember being in the club and I remember turning to my best friend / adopted sister and I said, "You know what? Let me tell you something. If we are in the club at 40 years old, in the club at 40 years old, you better tell me to get my old ass home." That's what I told her. And now I look back and I'm like, wait, when I go into a club now, I'm like, okay, I'm 44 and I'm in the club. Like, should I go home? I feel so bad. Now,
Ali's popping bottles at 1 on Sunset on a Saturday night.
Man, girl with a 3-year-old at home, we not popping those type of bottles these
You're
days.
popping milk bottles.
Yeah.
No, but for real, I think...
not that she's on bottle, but anyway.
I think that we should have, like, for our younger kids and, like, for people that are going to have kids now, we should change the conversation about age, you know? We should say... We should talk about age being an exciting thing, like an exciting time when you get when you're mature.
Very true.
When you you get to know yourself a little bit better. You find the love and the friendships that you want because you know exactly what you want now.
Yeah, and have you ever noticed an older woman at a pool? She does not care. I've gone to like Spain and been all modest in my bikini, and then they walk around and they're like, "I don't care. If you don't like it, don't look." And I actually admire that, and I feel that as I was growing into who you are.
And also, with boundaries, you start setting boundaries, and you don't take shit from people anymore.
No, for sure.
Not as much, at least.
Well, you like to think so, at least.
And hopefully you become a little bit more financially stable because you learn how to be responsible, and
some
learn
do.
How to be, you learn discipline. And honestly, in my notes, I have in parentheses, hopefully.
No, absolutely.
Hopefully you become responsible. Hopefully you know how to do it. But I think the conversation needs to change because, I mean, I know that your grandmother and my grandmother are very similar, where, like, my grandmother calls me today, and she's like, "When are you going to have a kid? When are you going to get married? Time's ticking, honey.
Right.
Your clock." And I'm like, I'm just literally, I mean, I don't want to have a baby right now. I'm a baby myself. Exactly. However, turning 25, I told my friend Jenny, I have one of my really good friends, she's 34, and she almost, like, she really wanted to slap me across the face. She's like, "You get out of my house right now. How dare you say that to me?"
Right.
But I feel like that. It feels weird.
It's very true. So a couple of things I have to say on that. I think that if you're a person who feels those milestones, you'll feel the pressure. I agree. In my age, yes, my kids, I raise them different. I'm like, take your time. I'm so opposite because I did grow up in that culture of if you haven't had a child by the time you're 22, 23, you're hitting old maid status. And it's like, what? And then I look back at what I was at 23, 25, and I'm like, I was such a baby.
Yeah.
Why do you want a baby who cannot take care of themselves, as you say, take care of a baby? It's, to me, just the most craziest thing. Now, you're never really ever truly prepared to have a child. My husband, Joseph, had his first child at nearly 40 years old, and it knocked the wind out of his sails. But I mean, at least he can handle it. But he's like, whoa, this stuff is really crazy. I'm like, I warned you.
But it's also about, I mean, for girls, it's also about 25 being the age where you stop producing, that much collagen, and then your metabolism changes, and it's just.
But it is what you make it, and I say that because I've lived it to an extent. You can always, no matter your circumstances, you can always help yourself by choosing a lifestyle that's healthy and conducive to that and to what you want. I talk about that. I eat to live, not live to eat, and I eat things that are going to help me age gracefully, hopefully. And but to speak to something else that you brought up is changing those mindsets of what should be expected. In life, you have those like, what am I going to do by what age? I mean, I wanted to buy my first house by the time I was 25. I wanted to do this, that, and the other. And yeah, what does it mean if you haven't hit those? What does it mean?
Well, like one of our amazing guests said, he said, why should I be taking advice from a 13-year-old, from my 13-year-old self?
Right.
Because when you put those milestones, like buy a house, you were probably like 15, right? You were like, I gotta buy a house by the time I'm 25.
Well, no, it was 18, but it's just like, even at 18, you're still trying to survive.
But still, like, why would you want to take advice from your 18-year-old self?
I think if you can do it, it's great. But if you can't, you shouldn't place such a burden on yourself to understand that life is going to throw challenges at you.
Yeah.
And the bigger focus is on how do you handle those so that if you do fall off track, how do you get back on track? Focus on the solution, not the problem. And
the internet doesn't make it any better. You know why? Because today I woke up and I Googled 25 things I should have done by the age of 25.
Oh, yeah. Those articles will put you in depression, honey.
Depression. And in one of them were so ridiculous. One was, you should have better posture.
I'm sorry. I actually agree with that.
But really,
I should be worrying
about that by 25?
Stupid moment. In my head, I just thought, like, in general, I didn't think about, yes, exactly.
But, like
it's
why
okay
for you to have really bad posture until you're 24. And then by 25, God forbid, you have bad posture. It's so stupid.
I mean, I will slump from time to time, but then I mentally inside, I hear my grandmother saying, straighten your back. And she would come up and smack me on the back. Like and I would, prop my... Yeah.
But you know what? One of my favorite things from that same article that almost put me in depression was you should have a sense of who you are. And I really like that one because you shouldn't know how to. And I don't think it's healthy for you to say I know who I am, because once you say I know, it kind of stops all the progress.
You should
exactly say I actually know.
I know who I am today.
I'm getting to know who I am, and I have a better picture.
Right. Exactly. But again, I know who I am today. No, and I agree with you. And I think, we always have to constantly audit ourselves. Even if you're 20, early 20s, I think auditing yourself and personal development, everything that we're trying to do, even here with this podcast and what we do, is about helping and encouraging people to understand that personal development is a good thing.
And it's a lifelong
It is. It's a lifelong journey, and you will, even if you're like the greatest, I'm sorry, I will not buy it for a second that even somebody like, on the stage, Tony Robbins doesn't have a bad day. It's silly to think that. It's a silly notion to think that people don't continue to hit and have to deal with challenges within their own lives just because they actually do have the ability to help others in theirs. Like, that's just an unrealistic expectation for anybody else, and especially for yourself. So I would agree with that, which is why we have a fantastic segue into our amazing guest today.
I do.
I'm really excited about this one.
We do have this.
Are you excited?
I'm very excited because we met this guy only a little bit ago, and I think we're best friends now. So
I think you're definitely best friends. All right. Well, let's without keeping anybody in suspense, Mark Shapiro is on a mission to fill the kindness void, inspiring businesses, communities, and individuals to a kinder standard of influence, connection, and authenticity. But he isn't just teaching it, he is living it. As producer of the acclaimed 250-part podcast series, Are You Being Real?, he has sent over 8,000 personalized appreciation birthday videos to those he cares about. And as a social innovator and TEDx speaker, Mark is at the forefront of social innovation as the founder of Love Bomb app and Kindfluence movement. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Shapiro.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here and to just experience your banter. I love the productive conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We try. Well, you know what? We want to dive into it. We know we've got to get you out of here soon enough, but we're excited because I came across you on social media. Well, actually, no, let me take that back. We have EmpowerCon, and you guys reached out as to consider you for speaking, which, by the way, hello. Yes, why would we be crazy enough to say no? I checked you out, and I was like, okay, I love it. I love what you're doing. So, tell our audience a little bit about what you do and what you speak on, your expertise.
Sure. Well, the feeling is so mutual, so thank you for having me. The topics that I love to speak about, the first one is authenticity. So I loved what you were talking about in terms of personal growth is a lifelong choice. Journey. It's a lifelong journey as we continue to evolve and auditing ourselves, taking the time to check in as the world moves so fast. So that is one of my favorite topics. The podcast, Are You Being Real? All about authenticity, living a life that's true to you. And then the second topic is kindness. And how can we be kinder to ourselves? How can we be kinder to each other? And how can we be kinder for the state of the world that we live in?
For sure. You have, now people can go out there and check it out. You have an amazing TED Talk that you did
Thank you.
TEDx Talk, sorry. And then you've also have some pieces where you've been on the news and they've interviewed you. And I've loved in each and every single one of them what you have to say. One of the things you talked about how people, and this is very relevant today to today's world with social media and technology, right? We have the ability to stay so connected at our fingertips, yet people often don't. So you've actually said a comment that people who are kind are happier, healthier, and more connected. Can you expand on that?
Sure. I'll even throw one more in, and it's kindest people. Let me say it one more time. Kind people are the most successful, as well as being happy, healthy, and really on a biological level. We naturally, when we are kind to each other, we feel better about ourselves and our social standing, and we have more serotonin in our brains. And whenever we're around people, there's literally chemicals in our body that have a positive impact on our health and how we feel when we're being kind to others and in turn being kind to ourselves.
Sure.
I love that you said that because it's always nice to see how kindness actually affects your body and your chemicals. Because it does, you do make more serotonin, you make more endorphins, you make more oxytocin, which is
the love
it's
chemical.
called love hormone.
Yeah.
And in actual studies, they have seen people their brains light up, and it's a part of your brain where it's the brain's pleasure and reward center. I mean, that's crazy because it's not something that you just do just to be a good person, but it's actually that affects you physically.
Yeah. You push random acts of kindness.
I do.
And we love that because we actually did, we did an experiment where we went to Starbucks and paid $100 with the cash register and said, okay, the next $100.
It was amazing.
Just to awesome. And then we actually got some people
cool.
afterwards to give us their feedback on how, and we just bought them Starbucks for God's sakes, and
Still
it was
so
amazing to see how those people felt like now in turn, I want to go do something for someone else, and it was, and the other thing that came out of that was it was the little things that matter.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be something huge, right? So when you're out there encouraging other people and giving them this understanding that, that a kindness is contagious and that you're going to feel better, what are some of the things that we encourage people to do?
There's a million different things that we can do. So the first thing before I ever answer this question that I love to say is that I think sometimes when we think about random acts of kindness, we think of those, intermittent nice things. Maybe it's a meme or a video that we saw on social media of, someone taking in a homeless person on Christmas and giving them a shower and warm clothing and a feast. And yes, that is one amazing thing to do, to be kind. But being kind isn't limited to those random acts, maybe once a day, once a week, once a month. Literally being kind, in my opinion, is a choice, a way of life that we can live, and it's being caring, helpful, and generous.
I mean, it's looking someone in the eye, right?
Totally.
When you are just walking down the street and you see somebody, instead of doing the whole, let me hide my face.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me look you in the eye and say, hi, how are you?
Yeah, there's an interesting little story that I love. I think that is so simple. It's a simple smile is kind. You don't know when you walk past someone on the street what they're experiencing or what their day is.
Sure.
And just smiling at them will make them feel, perhaps, if they're willing to accept that joy, maybe it'll brighten up their day, and maybe they'll pay that smile forward as well. So I do love that. A simple smile, I think, is the easiest thing. It's free, just being kind to anyone you interact with at a restaurant, any kind of.
Well, or what you did.
There's a million different ways to be kind. So I think that is the biggest mission like that I have to like really talk about is it's not just limited to like, okay, I can be kind, I'll do something kind later. It's just like be kind always.
Sure. You did something quite amazing. And, I know you said you were going to give us a number 2, but, you're talking about this. You came up with an amazing concept. And what did you do? Share with.
Sure. So after my dad passed away from Alzheimer's, I know we were talking about that off air a little bit before, but when he passed away, I just realized that I could show more appreciation for the people in my life that have, shown love for me, people that have touched me in some kind of way. And I know we've all, if we're living and breathing and meeting people in our lives, like we'll meet hundreds, thousands of people in our lives who have touched us in some sort of way, shape, or form. And, as we know, like, we're all going through it, right? We're all growing older. We're all like doing our best and dealing with all sorts of unexpected things like you shared about in the opening. And it feels really good to get that positive reinforcement from another human, from people that, we've interacted with and touched. And it feels so good to feel appreciated.
It does.
So for everyone, before I share what I've been doing, just to think about like the last time someone said something really nice to you. Thank you for being a really good friend, or for giving a helping hand, or for being smart and being present, always being there, always being giving. That feels so good, right? When we feel that. And oftentimes in our achievement-based culture, we only hear things when we accomplish something really big.
Right.
And that can like create some big gaps in between feeling and experiencing some of that love. So after my dad passed away, I wanted to show more appreciation, and I decided to do something kind of crazy, and that was to start sending personalized video messages to my Facebook friends on their birthdays. And that's like every single one. So I have 3,000 Facebook friends, and I've been doing this now for like 3.5 years.
Wow. That is awesome.
I've sent over 8,000 personalized videos, and it's the highlight of my day.
I'll be expecting mine on June 30th next year, by the way.
June 30th.
Okay.
Noted. Copy that.
January 19th.
No, I love that. Of all the things that Facebook has done since I've started on it in 2009, the birthday thing is the one thing that I do just love about Facebook. Thank you. Because I think we often want to be reminded, but we just, oh my gosh, I can barely keep my kids' birthdays straight, let alone like everyone else in the world. And back in the day, you had like your calendars that you'd put it. Now you don't. So Facebook has this, so it's built into this technology to actually stay connected. So,
Sort of,
exactly. So, like, what are your thoughts on, like, how do wait, it seems like you have a thought there.
I do. So what's the exact question?
What do you see as the pitfalls of it then? I mean, if we're supposed
pitfalls
to be
of
using
social media
to engage, I'm saying, why are we not? I guess that would be,
right.
why would
I mean, we all know that there are tremendous benefits to social media in terms of having this public conversation where everyone has their soap dish and has the opportunity to share whatever it is that they want to share, express themselves however they want to express themselves. With Twitter, news, information is traveling so fast. We've all seen those GoFundMe campaigns for someone or maybe even yourself. We had some sort of health scare or dealing with some sort of health issue and raising money for your medical bills.
Sure.
So there are so many benefits to social media, and in a way, we're more connected than ever.
Right.
But are we?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Then there's the other side of social media where there's people just, saying that they're living their best life and looking like they're happy all the time when we all know that's not the truth. Everyone, emotions come and go like farts.
Yeah. Or you get those like mysterious rants. I remember that's one thing about trying to decipher someone's like cryptic status on Facebook.
Yeah.
Life is so cold. And you're like, what's wrong? You're like, and then you have, but anyways.
I mean, there are certainly people who cry out for help.
Absolutely.
And then, there's most humans, we just naturally want to belong.
Exactly.
We want to feel safe. So there's a reason why so many of us are very guarded or particular as to our public image and what we project out there. And social media
100%.
has just magnified that because naturally we all want to have opportunities, whether it's professional or in the love department. We all want to look good. We all want to receive love. So sometimes it's scary to put ourselves out there in a way that we may not look good.
Yeah.
So social media has magnified that. I do think social media is a little bit better, and there's people sharing a little bit more of themselves than in the past.
Be more authentic.
But where I really look at social media today is where social media is amazing for one-to-many communication. It really, the one-to-one connection component is missing.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so to me, that is after sending all these video messages to people, I've seen the magic and the power of one-to-one connection.
Right. Because they're hearing your voice. I mean, communication is, made up of 100%. 5% is actually the words. Everything else is tone and body language. So you're sharing this message, and people are like opening it in surprise and being like, holy cow, you thought so much to just take 15 seconds out of your day and send me a message. That's awesome. I can imagine your response.
It's really wild how much of a gift that is.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because I've sent 8,000 of them. And I received one yesterday on Christmas from someone who's pretty random in my life. I don't think I'd seen him in a couple of years. One of those types of people that when he was a more active person in my life 5 years ago, we never really would hang out one-on-one, but I'd always enjoy seeing him.
Right.
I got a message out of the blue from him on Christmas yesterday. It was a video message, and it was he said something along the lines of, you sent me a video message on my birthday, and I just appreciated that so much that I just wanted to give you some love today. I hope you're having an amazing day. And it was, 15 to 20 seconds, and it obviously took him energy. And
but you know what you
figured out
right
there to do that.
Yeah. But
it felt amazing to be on the receiving end of that when usually I'm on the giving end.
Exactly. But see, that's because you figured it out. And I think that's one thing I always try to explain with my kids too. You get what you give in this world. Now that's not to say that every single person you interact with is going to treat you right. But what I'm saying is, in general, you get what you give to this world. If you are good to the world will be good to you. And I think that it's amazing that you've done that. And like you said, kindness is contagious. Because then it becomes like a competition. They're like, oh, he sent me one. Well, guess what? I'm going to send him one too.
Exactly.
And then you've got it. So you have this kindfluence movement, which I really love because, first of all, there's a lot of movements out there that kind of, they kind of push along and they lose fizzle, or they don't really achieve much, right? I don't know. Am I crazy in this stuff?
It's not easy to start a movement.
It's not. So you've taken on kindness, though.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, what made you say? Because one time somebody asked me, "What are you in the business of?" And I'm like, "I'm in the business of helping people be better themselves, or help them, better. I'm in the living of, or I make a living from helping other people feel better, right? So, how do you feel you've gone down this road of now I want to push this. This is something I want to turn professional because you have an app coming out. Tell us about that journey. Because it must be a fun one.
I have no idea where to start with this question. But when I left my corporate career almost 5 years ago to launch the Are You Being Real podcast, I was really focused on authenticity. And I still think authenticity is the key to living a life that is fulfilling and it's true to who you are in this world where it's not necessarily easy. We're not always encouraged to be ourselves.
Sure. Yeah.
With that said, while people do value authenticity, I think that people really value influence because it's a little bit more tied to making money or power or opportunities. So I started to kind of zoom out a little bit from just authenticity and talk a little bit about influence. And to me right now, when I look at the state of influence and I look at social media and I'm like, what the heck are we even influencing in the first place?
1,000%.
So I've done a lot of research on it and I've just learned so many valuable lessons, like the most successful people are kind. They go out of their way to help others. That I really do believe that in this world where we're all influencers, whether we think we are or not, everything that we think, everything that we do has an influence, whether on somebody's life around us or whether on our own lives. So every moment, I kind of look at influence sort of like the like a fish in swimming around in a fish tank, where it's like, does a fish know that they're in water?
Right.
And I think it's the same way with influence. Is we're constantly being influenced. Walking by someone on the street, whether they smile or don't smile, that could have an influence on how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about the world in the next moment. And so to me, it's so important to take a look at what are we being influenced by?
Absolutely.
Whose feeds are we subscribing to? Who are the people in our life that we're letting, have an impact on how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about the world? And so to me, I think that the future of influence is kind, at least I hope so.
Right.
And I want to be part of the solution because I think that we all win. I mean, it's scientifically proven that any kind act, the person who performs the act of kindness is happier. Whoever is the recipient of the act of kindness is also proven scientifically to be happier. And then anyone else who's around and who witnesses it also gets the benefits of kindness and is happier as well.
I'm glad that you touched on that. When you left corporate America, I'm sure that was really scary because you
Totally.
because it's
paycheck.
going from the paycheck and like, you know, doing it by yourself. So for people that are feeling kind of stuck in their cubicles, like how did you break from that?
Personal growth is the key. Always, I think, for everything is to continue to explore your curiosities. And that was something for me before, while I was working in corporate America, I could crush my to-do list at Showtime, but I'd barely, if ever, get to my personal to-do list.
Sure.
Right.
And I think that to me was like a major sign, even though I couldn't see it at the time, that there was going to be a problem that was just right around the corner. And when I did have the courage to start like asking myself, well, what would I put on the personal to-do list outside of, you know, making sure that I fix the things I need to fix at my house and, you know, make sure my car is, you know, functional so it doesn't break down while I'm on the highway. Once I like really got clear about what was most important to me, which really was personal growth, something that I wasn't focused on, that's when the opportunities started to appear.
Right.
Because I kind of look at it as like a doorway, where if we're always going to the same doors, we're always opening up the same doors, we're always going to enter into the same room. Versus if we're curious and we start seeing, you know, what other doors are there to open, then we can find ourselves in another hallway, another opportunity, another world. And that's essentially what happened for me. I never saw myself launching a podcast about being real. And just by focusing on my own authenticity, looking at where maybe I wasn't being as authentic as I could be in my life, then that allowed me this opportunity of being like, wow, I can live any life that I want to live. I know it's not going to be easy, but if I'm not going to do it, no one's going to do it for me. And so there was a lot of personal freedom. And while it was scary as hell to leave a 6-figure gig where I got a paycheck every other week, my entire career until that point, was very challenging. But you know, we're only here once.
Right.
And
So
I've always wanted to live an epic life.
Yeah. See,
And
that's
I'd
the
regret
key,
it if I didn't.
So can you reassure people that they can make money doing something that they love?
It's hard.
But it's possible.
That's all I got to say.
Yes.
It's, you know, I definitely was a little naive, I think, when I left the job. I thought, oh, I'm, you know, a likable, credible person. I'm just going to be able to leave the career and launch the podcast and grow it so fast that I'll monetize it. I'll do some coaching. And I had all these different ideas as how I was going to monetize it, but they all take a lot of work. And the reality is it took a lot longer than I thought it would to be above water. So I encourage you, if there's anything, you know, burning in your heart, to go for it, to be smart about it. Don't just quit your job.
Yeah, that's something
smart
I
about it.
I worked 2 jobs until the one I wanted to and the one I needed to, and banked money until then. That business was making enough to where I could let the other one go for sure.
Totally. I mean, side hustle is you know is real. There's so many books out there on side hustles. I think that's a great way of kind of hedging before seeing if something could be a full-time thing.
Exactly.
Right. And and with my first company, I was 25 when I started it. And I remember one time, you know, I made a phone call to one of my clients at 3:00 in the morning, and the office manager at the other office answered, and I was like, why are you answering the phone at 3:00? She's like, why are you calling? I'm like, I had a message to leave because I'm over here working on files. And it was just funny. But I say that to say, like, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, you better get ready because it is a lot of work. It is a lot of time. It's a lot of sleepless nights. And but you know, when you feel you have this bigger purpose in you, it's not something you can push down very well, not easily. It comes out. Because then you see people doing things. But anyway, I think it's amazing that you've done that, and you're here, you're doing it. You, everyone wants to be a TEDx speaker, a TED speaker, and so like the TED Talks, there's like right now for a lot of people that's like on the bucket list. So you're there, and you know, and you're doing encouraging people to do something. So, man, especially right now, in all over the world. Like I travel globally. I don't just when I say this, but people should be nicer to each other because the reality is there is negativity in this world.
Yeah.
We do have good and bad, right?
Yep.
And don't you feel, I mean, if you're a person of, you know, different cultural backgrounds, you see so much suffering within our histories. You know, you look at the Holocaust. Imagine if somebody would have been nicer to Hitler. I mean, just maybe.
Oh my God.
And I mean, I know this for some people, and I'm not being silly though, because that's a very, that's very passionate. It's not like, what if some of these people had experienced more kindness in their life? Would they have been so evil? Right?
It's a great question.
I mean, it
would have had an impact. It would have
sure,
definitely
exactly.
had
Absolutely.
an effect.
That's what I think is important about what you're doing, because it is it is impactful. It is such a necessary. It saves us as in humanity. Like you said, we have everything at our fingertips, but we're in want, and people want to be seen. You say this, and I love it. You also let's talk about Love Bomb. You've arrived at Love Bomb.
Yeah. I'm so excited about it. It is a new app that I'm creating. Unlike social media, that's all about the one-to-many communication. Love Bomb is all about one-to-one connection.
Sure.
So it helps you decide who you want to be in better touch with, who you want to send love bombs to.
That's so cool.
And when, the frequency that you want to be interacting. Some people we want to be in touch with every day, and maybe we don't need a reminder for. Maybe there's the type of people that we would just love to be in some sort of communication with once a month. Maybe there's someone, it's like once or twice a year is cool. And then maybe there's someone who you've thought about for like a year or two and you still haven't reached out to them. So Love Bomb helps you know who to reach out to, when, and then gives all sorts of fun, helpful tips of what to say. Because in doing my research, I found that oftentimes what holds us back from reaching out to one another is we don't have the time. It's going to take too long. But I think underneath that sometimes is we just don't know exactly what to say.
Yeah.
We're scared that we're going to be a burden if we reach out. When the truth of the matter is, how good does it feel when you get a nice message from someone, especially when it's unexpected?
Of course. I mean, it feels good. It
feels
feels
amazing.
good.
Amazing.
Yeah, it feels like, this person took the time out of their day to say something. And again, as you said earlier, it's not everybody does that. It's like you said, it's amazing because when my kids talk, like my daughter one time was saying, I have to wait like 12 hours for my cousin in Lebanon to get my email. And I'm like thinking in my head, to answer my text because we're on different time differences. And I'm like, are you kidding me? When I wanted to send a letter, if I had a cousin to send in Lebanon, like that thing was taking months to get to them when I was a kid. So we have all this, but yet we don't. And I just think it's really cool. So when is your app live? Is it live currently? Can I start sending love bombs?
It's being built right now. Well, depending on when this episode comes out, but I'm hoping that it's live on the Apple App Store in January of 2020.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's the goal. It's still actually being coded and built out.
Good. So we can start. I can't wait to send you a love bomb. I'm going to send you a love bomb.
I love the name. Honestly.
I do too.
I will download it just because of the name.
I couldn't believe that there wasn't already a love bomb app. And some people ask me, are you tied? Like, does that have to be the name? Like, I don't know. Like, no men would use it. And honestly, I do. I've spent hours and hours thinking of hundreds of names. And it's kind of, I think, the right name.
Right. Guys might actually get onto it for the wrong reason and then be like, okay, well, I guess since I'm here.
Sure, saying nice things. Well, if they're saying kind things and being a kind interruption in people's lives, I guess that's a good thing.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's if even by default they end up there and then it encourages them to do something better and different. That's amazing. It's something you should be very, very proud of. You said something, why not create that reality now when you were in an interview? And I really like that because a lot of times people, like you said, they'll wait
until timing is right.
What are we waiting for?
I don't know. Sometimes it's scary to do something that you just don't know how it's going to ultimately go down. You don't know if you're going to be successful, if you're going to achieve the outcome that you want to achieve. Maybe it is going after that TEDx talk.
Right.
But, the truth is, like, life is going to go on whether or not we like it. And instead of just having something on the shelf, where you're waiting for the perfect opportunity or rainy day, like that may never come. And the thing is, maybe it'll be a huge opportunity for you and you'll regret not taking it sooner. Sure. Maybe you'll realize it was just a fun thing to do once and then it'll make space for another new idea. But, I believe that all we have is right now. Oh. So I personally would love to live in a world that is happier and more connected and kinder. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the state of politics and you look at the state of social media, advertising, there's all these unkind influences. Mm-hmm. Brands telling us we need to buy things to belong when we don't actually need those things. Mm-hmm. So to me, I want to live in a kinder, more loving, supportive world. And that doesn't mean we need to sit next to each other and sing Kumbaya.
Right,
but to be a positive impact in each other's lives, knowing that life is hard.
Right.
And that we all could use additional support. We could all use additional love and encouragement. And it's available to us right now and it's free.
Right. Right.
So let's do it.
Let's do it. I'm with it. I love it. So is that your biggest call to action to people right now? Like that, just do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not trying to steal from Nike, but like for real, that's just the only way you can say it.
I mean, my intention word for 2020 is presence. And to me, that comes with being accepting of who I am. It's accepting of my situation right now, the freedom that comes with that, the freedom of the present moment. And I don't know.
I love that. It's a good place to be in. It's a good place to be in. After my divorce, I was actually one of those people on social media, and I talk about this, where people were there were some people that were blindsided because previous in my last marriage, if you saw my Facebook page, people were like, oh, it's the perfect couple. They're so lucky. Oh, it's just, and then when I went through the divorce, people were like, wait a minute, I didn't expect that. I had to come to terms, and it was very hard to be the one to finally say, to my whole social media platform, I'm no longer married to this person. Like, it was a shock. Our common friends, all of that. There's this awkwardness, right? But I decided it wasn't going to matter to me what anyone else thought. I was going to be authentic to who I am. And like you said, I love this. Kindness does go hand in hand in authenticity. Yep. And, also as a cancer survivor, like time, I tell this all the time. I've lost too many friends who wish that they were here to give their child a hug, to sing their kid a song goodnight. I will not take for granted time that others wish that they had. And so when you say, create that reality now. If you want a better life, the funny thing is, like you said, people say, oh, I want a better life. Okay, well, what are you waiting for? And it's like, well, I'm waiting for this to happen. Well, when I get a better job, or when I get the cool wife, when I get this, then I'll be happy. No, but what you don't understand is you're feeding into it now. Like when we were talking about, I worked at an Alzheimer's and Parkinson's facility in my 18, 19, and I took care of patients because I firmly believed, if God forbid anything ever happens to me, and I did have a grandmother who had Alzheimer's, I'm now starting this reaction where what I do to someone else is because that's how I want to be treated myself. And I think it's your root with kindness. It is. It just boils down to, well, how would you want to be greeted in a store when you sit down to eat, or when you just go? Like, what is it? Because sometimes I look at the faces and they just seem so unhappy. Have you ever done that? Like, just walked around and look at people's faces and you're like, oh my gosh, you want to like give them a hug. And do you remember that Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where Larry David said he was walking down the street and some woman is like, hey, you should smile. And he's like, what the hell do I need to smile for? You smile. How do you deal with people who don't want to be kind? They don't want to be cheered up.
You just can't let those people affect your energy. You got to be okay with, that's where that person is right now in their human experience, and that's okay. And I'm going to continue to be kind.
Yeah. Amen. Good.
And that's the toughest thing. If there's people around us who might, have bad habits or have different values or zones of integrity in terms of how they behave. Yep. And it's the toughest, I think, to remain authentic and true to ourselves when we're in those environments where everybody else is doing things that, we might shun. And feel the pressure to do anyways. So.
Sure. Or you're in a negative environment in general. You can be in
totally.
one. Okay, so last thing before we wrap this up, we have some rapid fire questions for you, Mark. Are you ready? Why don't you start us off?
Okay. Number 1, what is the kindest thing you've ever done for someone?
Hard question. The hardest or the kindest thing that I've ever done for someone. It's a really, really tough question. There's a lot of different things.
One of the top three. It's okay. I know you're probably shy. You don't want to say it.
It's funny. I think that the kindest thing is like the Love Bomb app. I think is the kindest thing because it's literally a kindness machine that anyone could take advantage of. So it doesn't exist yet, but I believe that this is my gift to humanity.
Well, you're believing in it. That right there is definitely an action. So that's awesome. Okay. Is it wrong for a vegetarian to eat animal crackers?
No, I think that's cool.
How long does it take you to get ready?
I'm pretty quick. I showered, so I usually like a nice hot shower. So I'd say 20, 25 minutes.
Okay, so because you got like the good hair there, I didn't know if you got to spend like an hour to blow dry it or anything. If you flat iron it too.
I have flat ironed it in the past, not now. Now I just let it dry, maybe throw a little gel in it. I mean, I threw a little gel in it today just because I wanted to look good for you guys.
Thank
wow.
you. And our
But
audience
usually
will
no
appreciate
gel.
that.
What
By
do
the
you
way,
think?
yeah. By the way, for people who don't want to check out the video, go to YouTube and look it up, Unsugarcoated Podcast with Alia and Alex.
Alexandra.
All right. Have you ever worn socks with sandals?
Yes.
Yes.
I have.
You look like a person who has worn
But
socks
that's
with
a-
sandals.
you
by
know,
the
that's
way.
like-
I don't mean that.
It's a
in bad way.
loaded question. The truth is yes. Have I ever rocked that as a style? No. But I literally was walking outside my house the other day. I was wearing socks and I put some sandals on.
Okay.
So
Okay.
even within the last week, I've done it, but it was
Okay.
more just to like check out something with my house.
There you go.
So you
Got
don't
it.
go to like dinner like that.
He's like, maybe.
He's thinking about it.
I don't know. Like that could be cool. Well, I'm
That's
not going
rocking
to
it.
say that I won't do it again in the future.
There you go. No, you own it. I'm not saying to
But
be
we'll
ashamed
see.
of it. We were just wondering.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Has anybody ever told you that you look just like Paul Rudd?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure you hear
yes.
that a lot.
I get that
Right?
one
I
a
tried
lot.
not to say it because I'm sure you've. I'm sure
Paul
you've
Rudd
just
is
heard
amazing.
it. He is
He's
amazing.
amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But yeah.
Being compared to Paul Rudd, like there could be so many worse
Sure.
people that you could be comparing me to. Paul Rudd, I will
Yes.
take that gladly.
Just so you know,
Paul
everyone,
Rudd
we
too.
have Paul Rudd in the studio. It's
Yeah, we
actually,
got Paul Rudd.
It's Mark. It's Paul Rudd acting like Mark Shapiro. No, we got it. Okay, why can't we tickle ourselves? Last question.
Wow. Because it's more fun to have someone else tickle you, I guess.
No.
Would you just tickle yourself all day long?
No, you'll find this interesting because
Yeah.
you're such a brain guy. Our brain knows
cerebellum.
our brain sends off 1,000 million messages
Okay.
to say go tickle yourself.
Yeah.
So there's no way for us to trick ourselves.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's
it
why
already
we get
knows.
tickled.
Right.
Yeah, is that see you learn something new every day.
Unbelievable.
And I had a feeling you may or may not know that.
I'm tickled.
I watch a lot of Discovery Channel, so there's a reason I know that.
If you didn't know, now you know.
These are great, colorful questions, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Thank
They're
you.
great, colorful
Oh,
questions.
cool! Thank you. I'm glad we're stepping up our game with the questions. By the way, our audience will know, and you got some. We're very excited. So, where can our guests find you on social media?
I think the easiest place is on Instagram at Are You Being Real, completely spelled out, is probably a good place to start.
I love it. I have to tell you, my IG name back in the day was Alia_the real thing.
It was.
Because I was
You
all
are.
about being real.
You
like
are.
that was
I
my
love
journey.
that.
I'm being
Yeah.
real. I'm being authentic to who I am. And so my
Such a
IG
gift.
name
Thank
was
you.
yeah. But then Unsugarcoated was born, and now everything's unsugarcoated. But okay, so and then you have a website.
I do. AreYouBeingReal.com is a website. Kindfluence.com is like a business website that I have.
Perfect.
And then lovebomb.app.
Perfect. So people can be ready for that when it drops. Because
Yes.
they're gonna want to do this. They want to be. I want to be part of the movement. I mean that.
I'm gonna download
I'm not gonna
that.
lie. I thought I was good with just writing happy birthday to
Yeah.
people. You really
Yeah.
made me say I got to step up my game.
How many
for
love
sure.
bombs would you want to send a day?
As many as possible. I think at the end of the day, it's like how much can I, like you said, how much do I have time for, right?
Yeah.
But I would like to. I mean, I think anything that automates it a little bit for you, but it's still coming from you means something.
Yep.
Your app is not fake. It's not like, oh, I'm taking this as a secretary to do this for me. No,
Totally.
you want this because you want to stay connected. So
Yeah, I had someone ask me if they could like just have auto ones that go out to everyone in their address book. I'm like, no, that goes against
Imagine.
right? It's kind of the opposite.
integrity of the app.
It kind of defeats the purpose there.
Thoughtfulness.
Well, we thank you so much for actually being with us. I think, did you have any more questions actually?
I had nothing else except for the people that feel a little self-conscious about their age. Don't. Because everything's going to be okay. Sometimes maybe we just gather information and experience to then put into our purpose in the future. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
that's for sure. And as the 44-year-old in the room, the oldest person in this room, I can tell you, you're absolutely right. And it does get better. It doesn't always get easier, but it does get better. And I say that with all wonderful, we just celebrated Christmas. This will be released in a few weeks, but we hope everyone had a fantastic
Yes,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Happy
and that
Hanukkah.
you're still having a good time from the new year.
oh, yeah.
But yeah, we love you and thank you so much for supporting us. Take care.
But also, we're wrapping up. No, we're not wrapping up.
We're
right
wrapping
now.
up this episode.
We're wrapping
we
up
thank
this
you so
episode.
much for being with us. We'll see you next time on Sugarcoated.
You've been listening to the Unsugar Coated Podcast with your hosts Ali Alanias and Alexandra Checa.